This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For October 21st, 2021, it's the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails. Welcome back, everybody. Time for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure. My name is Chris Decter. I'm joined by Jamie, Mark, Larry, Justin, and Rachel is here for the first time in, what, about 6 weeks?
Yay, Rachel.
Thanks for coming,
Thanks
Rachel.
for still acknowledging my existence, guys.
No, we... Well, you
every
and your
week we have a
moving
moment
from
of
the
silence.
the free Fridays kind of lightweight work to actual work is
Yes, I found it
always a
very
challenge.
annoying.
Overwhelming
frankly.
amount of people emailing us. People were asking us where you were. We had so much email about it, and so
it's an entire inbox full of "Where's Rachel" emails.
Yep. So,
We don't know either, so we're just deleting them. But yeah.
we kept
So
forwarding them to you.
on today's show, we're going to discuss support tickets that we didn't see coming. We're going to discuss the dinosaurs of AV. But first, a little bit of AV news. So next week is InfoComm 2021. For those of you listening to this, it was probably last week, but it's next week as we're recording this. And I pulled an article from rAVe Pubs, who does a great job in covering the industry. I appreciate that. And they did kind of some top 5 trends to look for at InfoComm. And these are always fun because they're predictive, and we have to kind of see how accurate they get. But a couple of them are interesting, so I want to run this past the panel and see what you guys think. Also, I love listicles because it's not as much work to read them. The text is bigger, and there's numbers so I can follow them. So their first trend is that HD-based T is more in demand than ever. I guess I'm a little confused by that because I didn't realize demand was waning for that.
No, wait. I've been using it and wanting it for years, and so
Yeah, it's been around for a while. It's almost a dinosaur.
yeah, it's
That
very
works
close.
well.
Yeah.
Not quite, but maybe, yeah. Maybe next year it's
Well,
a
I mean,
dinosaur.
doesn't that
we
make it a
love.
chicken? Because that's what dinosaurs evolved in.
Okay,
some sort of feathered
Well,
lizard
touche.
bird.
all right.
There
So
you go, Rachel.
here is my one little but is there going to be a supply chain issue with HD-based T chipsets? Are we?
No. After InfoComm,
There's
everything's
supply
solved.
chain issue
Right.
with anything. So
It's all
But I
it's
know
back to
that
normal.
some folks are starting to push out some other HDMI over IP extension technologies that don't rely on HD-based T because they're looking at the tea leaves and think it might be kind of hard to produce that stuff in the near future.
I think that's like everything, though. Like anything that has a chipset that uses some type of anything to traverse things over network or not are hard to get right now. And so I think we could rewrite this and say devices that use infrastructure common to HD-based T are probably all in demand right now. So,
yeah, the irony being that it is the infrastructure is almost identical. So yeah. So Rachel, to your point, yeah, if you can't get that one, but you can get an IP-based one, you still have a cable between them. Yay.
go nuts.
Number 2, this one I find a little weird. QR codes are growing in popularity. I mean, I guess if they went from 1 to 2, that's growing. But
Or 0 to 1.
yeah,
right.
0 to 1 also growing.
If all you do is give people the option of only scanning a QR code to get any information, I guess it's more popular
this
than
is a
ever.
real thing, actually. I agree with Gary. I can't believe I'm saying those words.
Yeah.
I agree with Gary. And here's why. This is not like an impressive analytical take, but everybody got so used to being forced to use them during the pandemic because that was the only way, to your point, that they could like look at a restaurant menu because nobody was going to give them a paper menu to hold anymore. That just like happened 15 years ago in Asia, where QR codes have been really popular for a really long time, people have become used to using them in America in a way that they didn't, and in the way that they did in Asia during the first SARS epidemic. So now we're going to start seeing it becoming more common to like scan a QR code to interact with a sign, or scan a QR code to get into a control system, or to connect your device to a BYOD system, because people have like broken through the variable of thinking QR codes are dumb and weird. They're just used to them now.
Yeah.
Well, the
If we
menu
are
thing
just
makes
talking
sense.
about
Like the
If we
menu
are just
thing makes.
talking-
Go ahead, Larry.
You kids. I
If we
swear.
are just talking
No,
about
me too.
popularity,
I went in on
not
this.
I
function,
came back and broke the show.
then
I'll be Jamie's dog.
if we are just talking about popularity, I have been asked more about QR codes in the past 3 months than I have previously. And so,
So
more
I'm
people
selling
are
my
thinking
QR code
about
stock.
these.
I'm out. I'm getting maximum value on it right now.
Yeah, we're not even touching that on our campus at all. One, resources trying to develop something like that.
No
It's
pun
just-
intended, of course, right?
so we're not even touching it, right? So, and then you have all the odd issues of, well, if you do implement it on every system on campus and teacher teaches in this room and then goes to the next room and then goes to the next room, do they have buy-in to understand how that works and flows versus scanning a menu and you leave with that? That's not a big deal. But
just-
to be
you just
able
keep
to
it-
have
I
a
think
touch
just
panel there
generically, though.
and
Yeah.
QR codes on every system on campus, it's difficult to do.
I think just for
There's
like
ways around that.
basic information flow, like, hey, scan this, get some info you didn't
Yeah.
have before. Like that's
great.
Sure, yeah, go for
Yeah.
it.
Though I will say that this
I,
specifically references scanning for a control system to give like a simplified user interface for scanning, which is fine if you have a phone or a tablet that does that. But if I carry my laptop in, that's awkward. So.
Do you want it on your home TV? Would you want it there to
My
change
home TV
channels?
is only a QR code.
Yeah,
I can't figure out how
mean,
to turn it
frankly,
off.
yes.
Just stuck
Because
on
I
that.
mean, this is where I've seen it already, right? Is like the ability to scan a QR code and then use it to control something that you normally would have used a touch panel control. It basically turns your mobile phone into a mouse. And that is handy if for whatever reason you don't want to touch the thing or you don't want to stand near the thing, you can still control it from your phone. And in answer to your question, would I want to do it on my TV? I already do, friendo. Like it's not a QR code per se, but I lost the remote to my TV a long time ago and now just use the dumb app to basically do exactly what I would do. And it would be
Did you call LG and they're like, we'll send you a QR
right?
code? It's the
Well,
same
I
thing.
mean, honestly, a QR code would be faster
Just gotta
because
pay
now
for
I have to
shipping.
like open my
mail it to you.
phone and like find the app and open the app and wait for it to connect. And if I could just have a QR code that I could sit down on my couch, scan, and start controlling my TV, that would actually literally be better.
Yeah, I could see that at the house. It just
Would you want it for your toilet? Let's put it there.
to do what?
Well, it's
To
already
flush
there
the
I
at
mean, I
that
have
point.
To flush or to
children,
wipe yourself?
So again,
Like, which
Would it
one?
Yeah.
automatically
All the
hire a maid?
All of the
Everything?
above. Yeah, if it does all of it. Yeah, just one QR code gives you the
If
portal
it
to the
does
toilet
everything
control.
for me,
if it would
yes.
do it for
That
my
answers-
5-year-old,
Complete touchless
absolutely.
enabled toilet.
Like sign me up. I will
Yeah.
beta test that shit.
All right, I can't talk you out of
I'm
this.
in
I guess
for
I
that.
guess I guess it's a thing. It's real. All right.
So I'm going to skip the next one because it's of little interest. It talks about KVMs. I really don't care. The next one, so the fourth one says flexibility is key, and it talks just about scaling for different resolutions or addressing HD-based T or addressing latency and things. Has flexibility never been key? I don't know. It's just that seems an odd one.
Well,
Is that like making the assumption we're going to see products that are more flexible than ever? Is that kind of what we're thinking, or is it just like you as an individual need to learn how to be flexible?
TV1 makes scalers and switchers, so they're probably just saying like, hey, if your signal path is terrible, we probably make a box to fix that, but stop making terrible signal paths, I guess.
Yeah, if you have other problems, like good luck. Nobody's going to solve that.
If I just read that headline, I would want them to start talking about conduits and cabling, rather like flexibility. That's kind of where my head was, and then I started reading it, and I was like,
conduit is hard to use, man.
Getting it to actually
Don't use
expand.
Larry
Larry
with his
rigid
dad
EMT.
jokes.
That's right.
Yeah.
A conduit expander.
I was just disappointed because there was no QR code to take me to the yoga studio.
Not that
I
kind of
do-
flexibility, Jamie. The last one on the list here says IP technology is rapidly expanding, which I would assume is probably related to the first
Wait,
one
what?
that says there's
Hold the phone.
So HD-based
breaking
T
news.
is maybe waning, but we're now moving to IP. But I don't know. They talk about NDI and SMPTE 2110, and I think we would all agree that absolutely this is the way things are going. And if nothing else, I mean, Mark, you brought it up in our last show about this idea of remote production because you have people located all over the place.
Look
and
at
if
the
you can
Olympics.
leverage a network, why not? So
Olympics
Yeah, I
were
don't
all
know about
IP.
this statement though. Like, how do you qualify this statement? SDI remains the predominant standard for moving audio video signals around
Yeah, that's
AV
patently
environments?
false. And whoever said that, the guys from AJA or Aja, if you're a Steely Dan fan.
It's still the spigot of choice in broadcast.
Yeah.
It's not the transport, it's the spigot.
Yeah.
I think that's I think it was really interesting because I was watching a soccer game the other day, and it used to be like it was taboo to say the announcers weren't actually on site, and the announcers were like, "Well, we're seeing the same feed as you folks because I'm in Munich and I'm in Massachusetts."
I'm on the beach.
They just blatantly threw it out there, and it was like. Now
That's
it's
the
become
new
real,
normal,
and it
though.
used
That's
to be
real, yeah.
like, "What do you mean you're not there, you cheaps? Why does it cost me $500 in cable bills just so you can sit on your couch?"
I've been involved with building small studios above people's garages who are correspondents for major sports networks because it's just more cost effective now than it is to travel them all over the world. They can just build their own little spot and they're off to the races.
So it's really kind of cool that it's especially in broadcast, that it's like just accepted. And maybe we
Now,
can
I
get rid
do
of Joe
think there
Buck.
is like a near-term thing where what this means is that people are going to need to look for devices that can do both, that have both SDI and IP inputs and outputs that can operate simultaneously, because nobody wants to throw away their like $3,000 Sony camera just because it doesn't have an IP output. They still want to be able to use that for its natural lifespan and to get the advantages of IP control wherever they can. So I think that's going to be the trend to look for.
There's a lot of clever things. Yeah, there's a lot of clever little widgets out there that can get some new life out of your already invested technology that allows you to kind of tiptoe into that IP transport on your traditional broadcast infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. We're kind of at a crossroads here where we're looking at, do I do baseband video or transport video? And why not both? ¿Por qué no los dos? It's one of those things where, if nothing else, it opens that flexibility to the previous point here. It opens that flexibility on how we can manage and maintain our systems, and just allows for some more clever system
it means that we don't have
products,
to keep doing things the dumb way just because doing it the smart way is expensive. You can transition more slowly.
Good point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, so those are the top. Those are 4 of the top 5 things to look for at InfoComm. I ignored the one about KVMs because that's a very specific
Keyboards,
thing.
mice. Yeah.
If you're doing IP-based KVMs for your control or your command and control centers, great. But it doesn't matter to me. So, all right. Well, Mark, push the button.
There's a great new digital magazine from Higher Ed AV Media found at higherEdAV.com, and we do a special monthly show where we actually stay on topic. It's a show where we try to really focus on a single topic and break it down into AV SuperFriends style. That's the AV SuperFriends on topic, found at avsuperfriends.com, higheredav.com, iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and wherever else you get your podcasts from.
So the first item we want to talk about today, since we've all been back at our universities now for, Mark, this is what, week 5 for you guys, I think? Completing week 5?
6,
week 6?
5, somewhere in there. Yeah, I'll give you
So
credit.
you've had a good amount of time. You brought up this topic of the idea of like, what are some of these because we all kind of planned like, well, we've got the regular help desk tickets. Is it going to be a regular semester? Well, it's going to be doing hybrid. There's going to be some weird things in there, but there's always ones we didn't see coming. And you guys have all kind of brought up these at various times as to what, you like, what's that help desk ticket that you wouldn't even conceive of? And now you're trying to figure out how to address that. So what are you guys seeing out there as far as oddball tickets?
Anybody? Any takers? Jump on this?
You're
go
talking
first.
now, so now you have to go.
Oh, Mark, you go first.
Oh, okay. Well, the one that I get is how do I do Zoom, but not Zoom specifically. How do I do presenter mode on a single image classroom with Zoom? I want to see my notes in PowerPoint. I need to do that. That's probably our number one like pain point right now that we kind of just keep seeing over and over and over. And walking instructors through any display stuff in real time is like the worst thing in the world for our students who are put on the spot to do that. I mean, is it just myself that's seeing that? Are you guys seeing that same question?
I did a whole bunch of things. That's been the one, just trouble ticket that doesn't have an easy answer. We put in these new spaces for pharmacy, and they were all built around 2 displays, right? And they're all Zoom based. And the whole idea was pharmacy wanted presentation on one side and the entire gallery view on the other, so that all students were available all the time, and same for the instructor. And the the first thing that happened, the first ticket that came up, and in fact, I'm not even sure it was actually the instructor as much. It was driven from their support helpers. But they were like, well, we want to do presenter view. How do we do presenter view and share and see the gallery, and we only have 2 screens? And their answer was, we'll put a third monitor on the thing, which overtaxed the computer.
Just add more stuff.
Yeah, more of any
Just
technology
add more
is
things.
always great for faculty. I
And
can
then you
guarantee
had
that.
to say, well, this monitor can never be shared with the room because, and it became a thing, and yet it was really frustrating because it was one of those, why didn't I foresee this? I mean, this seems like one of those things we would have harped on and been like, hey, make sure that you can do this thing. And I didn't even see it coming. And there are workarounds, right? If you go in, because somebody's going to say, well, you can. You just go into advanced on share, and you can just share the little window. And no, look, I can't believe we're this far into this. And Microsoft, even within Teams and PowerPoint world, their little, I don't even know if you can call it an ecosystem because they don't talk to each other. How this isn't a thing, how you can't go into PowerPoint and when you pick presentation view, it just says, do you want to see this or do you want to share this, the actual other side, and just let it go? And it's not happened yet. There's not a plug-in. We cannot be the only people to notice this.
You want the same plugin that exists in Outlook to work in PowerPoint. Like, make this Zoom ready. Like, just give me this all across. Like,
Do you mean that Outlook plugin that forgets all my settings every time I click it?
It works exactly as it's designed.
Yeah, and the one where when you move across the time zone, it forgets everything.
Yeah. But the capability,
but
acknowledge that it's
really,
real. Yeah.
It was just really a strange issue to come up with, and we have found some back ways to kind of fix it, but they're not elegant, and it's an extra level of training, and it's an extra level of this and that, and it was really frustrating. And what it turned out, what happened is that they just kind of stopped using gallery view, which goes back to the whole premise is gallery view. Like when we started the project, that was the administration, the leaderships, the schools, the universities, whole thing. Like, every student must be seen, even if they're the size of a thumbnail. We don't care. They need to be on the screen at all times, period, end of statement. But we all know how this goes. The actual courses start happening, and they're like, well, ditch gallery view, bloop, gone. So now they can't see Zoom. They're just seeing their PowerPoint presentation, and everybody's happy with that until the mystery voice comes from the other side. It says, excuse me.
Yeah.
We've just been sitting here for the last 30 minutes, and we don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah. It didn't, did it freeze?
Yeah.
So that was a really weird one. And then also, in conjunction with that, a ticket that I did not foresee coming was that we are now actually computers that are 2 to 3 years old, are right on the edge of that replacement cycle from our university's warranty or contract, or whatever it is. Those computers, once you start running Zoom, Teams, Meetup, I pick one, and you're sharing, and you're recording, and you're doing all this stuff, it is overtaxing the video card drivers, the onboard video.
No way.
And these things are just up and blue screening to death. And everybody panics. And it was one of those, I don't get it. Why is it doing that? The actual processor isn't being challenged. It's the video driver. And they're all that onboard video driver, and they're all a couple of years old. The newer ones are better. And it's, again, one of those.
Yeah, take apart your Bitcoin miner and get those graphics card put back in those machines.
Like, crap, I didn't even think about the fact that I'd be overtaxing the video card. And I felt stupid, but again, it's one of those, I can't do anything about it. It's not like I can go around and replace 150 video cards or computers right away. So you just kind of have to dumb the damn thing down and make it work. But they're just locking up like a drum. Things are boat anchors at that point. It's interesting.
Nice.
So those are the
Boat
two
anchors.
really weird tickets. Everything else is normal. The microphone doesn't work. Webcam's not showing up. It's like you go in, you do something, it's whatever. Those are normal tickets. But those are the two weird ones.
Yeah, I've seen the PowerPoint. I've also had requests to put wireless mics in rooms that do not need a wireless mic. I've gotten that a bunch. These little conference rooms that seat 8 people and the instructor absolutely has to have a wireless mic. But what's been more surprising in a good way to me is last year we were truly high flex. Some students in, some students out. Most of our tickets were around Zoom. This year, most of our tickets are around our lecture capture system. So it's kind of cool to see that the mode of instruction has changed and more people are using the appropriate tool for the job.
I did see a change. There was a change from like, I can't get this to be here or I don't see this to like, can I make this sound better or look better? So there was like a qualitative request change, which was nice. Like, hey, they're acknowledging that like, hey, can you make this sound a little better or look a little better for me, which was pleasant.
I was about to say the same thing. The quality, people expect, their comments are, when I came to school, we have more money here, so I expect my class to look better than it did at home. Because they recognize at home it's the whatever crap webcam on their laptop was. But they expected the classrooms to be better. And in the past, it was like, I just want something. But that's been a positive here, is that we wanted it to be better. We want to be better now that we're here. That's kind of cool.
So Larry, I share that microphone piece, and it was interesting because we had a lot of requests for microphones before anybody ever even set foot in a space to know if they needed them or not. So I'm not sure. I felt like it was chicken or the egg. I'm like, how do you know you need a microphone? You get to teach a class.
It was just thinking the mask, like, oh, I'm not. Yeah, people are just automatically assuming.
Yeah.
Looking at it, a lot of it were like, there's a, I don't want to, she won't listen to the show anyway, so it doesn't matter. There's a dictation teacher. She teaches dictation. It kind of makes sense that she needs to, because they can no longer see her lips, see her speaking. So the audio part of it is super important.
I get it. Yeah, but it was fascinating to see that. And then we kind of had that same question. It's like we have rooms and we had labs and handhelds for recording, right? They were for recording. And we've just been like globally asked, can we just use these for voice lift in a room? So now we're wondering, like, can we even have a lab or a microphone in a room that is not used for voice lift? Because as soon as somebody sees it, they automatically make the assumption and they call, hey, the microphone's not working in the room, and we have to go through the whole explanation. Yeah, it's for capture and for Zoom only. Well, can I just get it turned on? And we know how easy it is to just turn it on in the room. Everybody listening to this call probably knows exactly how easy that is of a process to just fire it up. So now we're kind of taking the stance, well, if there's a microphone in there, we must somehow just enable it for voice lift, and the programmers love that.
Oh yeah, love it.
They love making new UI and all that. So if you're out there in a programmer listening, you feel it. Feel your pain.
Just more embedded page flips with sub pages on them. It's great. Just go 7 layers down till you find the microphone.
I hadn't thought about it until you guys started talking about it. But I remember hearing Yuval Kramer of Kramer Electronics give a presentation these many years ago, back when we could all be in person listening to presentations together, about the importance of audio clarity, voice lift, appropriate intelligibility in education context specifically. And like, it was a great presentation. I cried. I'm going to be honest, because he told a very moving story about how, if you were a kid in the class who was missing every 8th consonant, you didn't necessarily know that was a problem. You just thought you were bad at school. And that one thing could be enough to change the course of your life. He's Yuval Kramer, guys, look him up. He's a great speaker. Anyway, but I have noticed over the past year that nobody ever asks me what video camera I'm using. Nobody ever asks me about my webcam. My webcam is fine. It's a pretty decent webcam, but nobody cares. People ask me all the time what microphone I use. I think that people have grown a lot more aware of how critical audio intelligibility is to communications. Also, my mic looks cool.
Please refer to audio before video.
Yeah, A before V, except after C.
That's right.
It's a thing. So you guys did bring up something that I hadn't considered, but you're right, that we're getting kind of these qualitative tickets, because we have a ticket where someone says the audio drops out for students on Zoom, and we're of course going in and troubleshooting, like, no, the mic is working fine, and then finding out that this guy is very soft spoken, and at times as he kind of and he even wears a a headset mic, not he plugs it directly. He carries it around himself because he likes that. That's his preference. That's fine. Plugs it into our belt pack and wears that. So we know it's not the mic moving away from him. It's just that the way he presents, he kind of his voice kind of changes in level, and he's found at times it drops below where the processor will gate that out, and it's way below anything we would have ever considered. But I told him, frankly, after we figured it out, I was like, I'm glad this not glad that it happened, but I'm glad you helped us find this, because it says we need to address all the rest of our audio processors, because this is probably happening to other people, and they think it's just the microphone's dying or something. I need new batteries or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's nice that we're moving from, hey, just make the room work or make the system work, to now I want better quality audio, or I want things to work. Like, I mean, the question, and we were joking before the show about my little unnamed 360 camera here. And I've had requests for things like that in classrooms, not because they want that particular thing, but they want that level of what they perceive to be a more interactive visual experience for students who are remote, is if they're sitting in the room and they can turn their head and look at somebody, and you have to explain to them, well, these cameras don't tie into other things. They don't work that way. But, we have very nice, high quality PTZ cameras with presets and all sorts of stuff. But so we can get a high quality video image into the call, but that's not really what they're looking for. They're looking for that more kind of lightweight or light touch interactive experience, because they just want a better experience for people who are on Zoom, which is interesting, because they're not saying the room doesn't work or the system doesn't work. They're saying this works fine. Can we make it better? And that's an interesting type of call that I wouldn't have conceived of until you guys even just started talking about it a few minutes ago. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
One spooky one I've seen, though.
We've gotten one lights. Can I get video lights? Because I look like crap.
Oh, that's good.
Like,
polishing.
Well, but I've got a couple of those now that we're talking about. Those are unexpected, and they're actually positive. They're not pains in the asses. Now they are, because we can't improve the lights much.
And also, those two problems aren't necessarily always related.
Yeah, in my case, I'm like, I'd like to turn the lights off. But yeah, lights. I've gotten a couple of those too. Hey, can we make the lights better for the cameras in here? Like, sure.
Maybe we can. Show me the money.
Here's your Home Depot gift card. Just carry around one of those.
That raises
lights.
larger questions of tying into the things for facilities and things like that. But that is
but
good. You're right, Jamie, that they're saying, this works. Can I make it look better for the people who are on the call?
But I think that's finally like the acknowledgement of the masses that like there are some best practices that go into making a better product. And we're seeing that finally, like the entire tide has lifted all of these boats up at some level where it's like, yeah, I can acknowledge the difference between good and bad media now. So it's great. Let's build on that.
Yeah. We have different kind of mic drops. So most of our tickets.
That's always bad on the speakers when you just mic drop.
Yeah,
Is it after the rap battle? I've seen this in movies.
No, just in our Zoom rooms. So our Zoom rooms, it was kind of pushed for our Zoom rooms to be as least amount of boxes as possible, right? So we're taking mics and going straight into the computer. We're taking controls straight out of the Zoom computer to control the displays and, the cameras and presets and all this stuff. So I'm sitting here thinking before we deployed these, I was like, well, I know these microphones aren't going to last. So we are seeing a bunch of tickets on, we don't see tickets on Dante, but they are Dante tickets because Dante's on our network. And we're getting a lot of, hey, a mic drop for a few seconds in this class, and we don't know why. And they've been exploring it for a couple months to be determined. It's a pretty easy fix, but it does take some time and, a little bit of money, not much. But what did, there's a couple levels here of surprise. So that did not surprise me at all. It kind of surprised me that we didn't have more problems early on, but we are seeing more problems now, probably because more congested network. Nonetheless, the second tier of this was the on and off problem that we're seeing with displays being controlled by the Zoom rooms, and we're using those really simple IP to serial type boxes, and they live directly on the network as well. And just sometimes things don't turn on and off, and nobody really knows why, because those packets are, I guess, lost in the ether of the network. I'm not sure. I knew it wasn't going to be a great idea doing that type of design. But what did surprise me, that happened a lot sooner than I expected. I thought it might be a problem, maybe a couple, 3, 5 years down the road, Zoom updating something on their back end, and no camera controls or presets worked anymore because everything was controlled by USB. So then we had to go around, and our support team had to take down all the cameras and take it back to the shop, plug up USB, update firmware, because none of these cameras are on the network. They're just USB control, right? So you can't manage these cameras. So that was, what's our total cost of ownership here? Can anybody calculate that?
4, 7.
It is
7.
6.5. You were close. We'll give it to you, Chris. So that's kind of the level of support tickets that, I guess the surprising one was a USB control. I thought that was going to last a little bit longer than it did.
Is it fair to say that looking forward, this is maybe getting into top 5 trends territory, but you're going to try assiduously not to deploy stuff on a large scale that can't be network managed? Is that going to be a requirement in the future?
Yes and no. I think what I'm pushing is put the right things on the right network. That's really what it's coming down to. We shouldn't be doing USB control. That control traffic can and should live on the WKU network, pseudo the way we have certain things designed. It should work. Pretty simple stuff, right? Don't put Dante audio on the network.
Yeah.
Keep it in a closed network and break it out USB or whatever. And that leads to a lot more simplified systems that an AV group can actually troubleshoot without relying on another group to help them troubleshoot something, resource management type stuff. So yeah, the answer is yes and no to your question. If that helps.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I do find it interesting that of all the things we've discussed, it seems the common element is related to the computer somehow, whether it's USB
or
whether
Zoom,
whether it's Zoom software, whether it's Jamie, you're talking about the integration with Zoom and Office software or productivity software, and there being some disconnect and some confusion there. So, and maybe that's good in the sense where the larger AV structure seems to be working as well as it ever did, but now we've got this other thing in the middle that everything has to end up talking to. So that's the narrowest little. The narrowest little conduit that goes out to the larger world, and it all wedges in there, and invariably, that seems to be kind of the weak point. So maybe we'll say for next year, look at all your PC related tickets, and then it'll be something else that catches us. So, all right, well, we do need to wrap this, and Mark's going to push button number 3. Do you have a question for the AV Super Friends, a topic to suggest, or were we just really, really wrong on something and you'd like to give us a piece of your mind? Well, don't just yell at your computer. Send us an email and we'll actually read it. mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. We're always looking for good ideas to steal, discuss openly. And if your message is just full of great stuff, we might just invite you on the show. Mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. So we're introducing a new segment on this show, and we'll return to this periodically, but we're calling this the dinosaurs of AV.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, that music's
on.
awesome. That is being performed live by Larry Darling right now.
The AV Super Friends Orchestra.
It's the best way to get royalty-free versions of the Jurassic Park theme. So, all right. So, dinosaurs of AV. This is equipment and things that we don't think we should be including in general AV spaces anymore. Things are past their time. They should be going extinct.
Going?
It goes for a while. Just let it run.
It's going to keep going?
We paid them for an hour. They're playing for an hour.
This is live
Jesus.
right now.
All right.
So dinosaurs of AV these are things that are due for extinction. We're hoping that a large meteor comes from some corner of the sky and lands directly on top of all of them. Mark, we're going to start with you. What's your dinosaur of AV?
Oh God, this could have been in that ticket thing. I knew this was coming, and I watched it happen in slow motion. Accident. Codex. Come on now. 323 Codex, and we still have some dinosaur rooms out there that were built around it that did not get newer treatment because they were deemed still capable of providing communication during our COVID response. So upon the return, imagine explaining to somebody that they've been using Zoom in their kitchen for the last 2 years, and now just come in and touch this touch panel and set that one and choose your content and then make sure this is on and look over here, and faculty seem to just still love them as much as they ever have. It's time for them to die. And I'm sorry if you're a manufacturer of these and you think they are great. Newsflash, they're not. And I'm not going to pay for service contracts any longer.
I will say in general, for all these sorts of dinosaurs, most of them, someone can probably argue every single one of them has a purpose and a place. But I think we're going to say for a general AV system at universities and colleges and things, where these sorts of things should not be included. So my dinosaur of AV are the dedicated wireless sharing appliances. 2 years ago, pre-COVID, hey, this was all right. Look, I can bring my phone in and I can share it up to the screen and everyone can see it. And now how do I get that on Zoom? Oh, wait, no, I got to take that output. If I run that back into the switcher, but do I need to select? No, well, I guess I could bring that over to the PC. No, it's a pain in the butt. Just join your Zoom, Teams, Hangout call, whatever, from that device and share your screen. Their job done. So all these, dedicated wireless sharing devices, the general purpose spaces, it's just overly complex. It doesn't need to be there. It's duplicating functionality that exists in other systems. And if our ultimate goal is to ensure that these spaces are all hybrid or high flex capable, this sort of thing just makes it that much more complex if we try to do that. So these all need to be gathered up, held in a plastic bag, and pushed under the water until they stop kicking.
There you go.
You've watched a few movies lately, haven't you?
I was describing Tuesday evenings, but so, yeah. All right, Justin, what's your dinosaur of AV?
So I remember when we had to pull this cabling through the ceiling, and this cabling was made up of 3 or 4 different cables, and it filled your whole hand like this, right? Everybody can't see it, but it was like that. And then you have the old, these analog snakes and this other old cabling that's about the size of your fist.
And in your hands, it looks huge.
Yeah. And, I got big hands, right? So no. So
I don't understand.
I remember
what are you
when
alluding to?
I was pulling this cable in and I was joking with the technician there, and my name for it was, first word horses, second word rhymes with block, right? Can you figure it out?
Sock.
Horse sock, horse sock.
One's
So
all
I had
you
these.
need.
So the horse cable, second word rhymes with block.
Chicken. Horse chicken. Did
I'm
you
tired
choke
of
the
that.
chicken?
Everything's over Cat 6 now, and everything's great, and the world's a much better place without those horsecock cables.
Yeah. Ponytails?
Oh, yes.
I would not Google that.
No.
Just so you know.
I didn't. No, don't Google 3-wire cable. Absolutely. Jamie, everybody should listen to your advice. Do not Google those 3 words.
Oh.
Jamie, what's your
Okay,
dinosaur of
so
AV?
another piece of advice is standalone, dedicated hardware recorders whose sole purpose is to record it locally just so that you can upload it later to a shared network storage device.
And then take it to your computer.
We're past this now, right? I mean, unless you are archiving or you're in high resolution, high bandwidth situations, there really is no need to have a dedicated secondary hardware recording device in the chain in every single space that you do. And especially hardware recorders that require extra service contracts, extra servers, extra software, and extra people. Media site. Especially if you're looking at those kind of things. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Larry, what you got?
Mine, and this is something I've taken out of every university I've been around, physical media.
And some you
Just
don't
like
work at,
just
you
the ones you
drive by.
visit, you just start taking shit out
When
of there.
I'm there,
Yeah.
I just,
like,
if I see a
get this guy
VCR,
go.
I'm tossing it. If I see a DVD or a
gotta
Blu-ray
go.
player, I'm tossing those at this
Free
point.
service offered by Larry.
Between hybrid, high flex, all those, it doesn't work with. It makes your touch panel configuration more complex, where you need a touch panel as opposed to a little keypad in most rooms. There's just
You don't like doing all those
it's
transport buttons?
No. It's
But you
just
can make 'em pretty.
outlived its usefulness at this point. There are certain spaces that need it. The general inventory classroom is not one of them.
I agree. Come get him, Larry.
Yeah.
We all seen
Rachel, what you
LeMay
got?
on TikTok Anybody? We're all on TikTok, right?
You
Yeah.
use a lot of words there that
TikTok?
He's a
I don't know
guy
what those are.
who watches videos of people doing something in an insanely stupid and complex, hacky way, and then he will do it the normal, easy way and just silently be like, ta-da. That's how I feel about smart boards.
Yeah, this is the one where he doesn't
that's the
talk
guy.
or anything,
That's how I
right?
feel about like
I am not on this service, but every now and then my kids are like, "Look at this, it's funny."
and it is funny.
So, okay,
and I
I get it
feel
now.
like
All
he
right.
could do one of these about interactive displays because you know what was already an interactive display? A chalkboard, a whiteboard. You interact with it, right? And I feel like this whole breed is a really complicated way of doing something that's simple. And to the point earlier about like now that we're all on Zoom, or now that people need to interact at home, shouldn't that reinforce the use case? But I think it doesn't. I think it does the opposite, because if you want to create a really equitable classroom, people should all be interacting with the display in the same way. So if people in the room are interacting with the display with like a special magic marker wand, and people at home are using a keyboard and a mouse or a mobile phone or a tablet, then why isn't everybody just using a mobile phone or a keyboard or a mouse or a tablet to interact with the display in the same way? Like, why are we making the experience more complicated than it needs to be? It's actually simple.
Did you know the older smart boards, you can use a Nerf dart and make it do things?
Okay, well, now
Did
there
you
is
know?
a use
So
case
if
for
you
one of
give
these.
several people Nerf guns in the room, you can advance
Never mind.
slides.
I take it
with a
back.
Nerf dart.
This is genius. Put them everywhere.
You gotta
Jamie,
have.
leveraging your students to crowdsource your slide advancement. Is that what's going on here?
Like, they have to have pretty good
was
aim for
thinking-
that, though.
I was thinking
I mean,
duck
that's
hunt.
going to
And,
take a lot of practice.
you know, let's just not talk about who discovered that worked. So we'll just let that one there.
Well, there we go. So there's 6 types of devices, things, services, whatever that you can do it with. And yes, right now there was someone yelling at their car stereo because they use these things and they need them, and there are spaces where these sorts of things make sense. But in
They
general
don't use my
spaces,
example.
Yeah, it's
you're wrong there, Justin.
time to move on.
30 lashings.
Let
30
him go.
lashings for you.
People are still dragging multi format cable around because that's what we use and it works fine. But for the most part, you're right. Put it
go
on,
select your
on cat,
cable
put a
and
box
go
at the
out
end
to the
and do it that
shed.
way. So
gonna give
yeah,
you your
these are
whipping.
dinosaurs of AV. We will periodically revisit this with other fun technologies. And
We've got a
things that
long list.
Yeah. Well, the list we came up with initially was what? There must be about 15 things on there. So, and that will only grow. It's not going anywhere.
To be continued.
Hey, InfoComm next week. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV SuperFriends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV SuperFriends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.